Hi, my name is Steve Mitchell. I serve on the Ashland Select Board, as well as serve on the Public Safety Building Committee. And I'm joined here this morning with my colleague on the Select Board, Joe Mignani, our town manager, Michael Herbert, our police chief, Vin Alfano, and our fire chief, Keith Roby. And we're here today to film the first of numerous videos regarding the public safety building, the process, the design, and the ongoing needs for a new public safety building. So to start this off, this particular episode, I'd like to turn it over to Town Manager Herbert to speak about the timeline since 2018 when town meeting voted to appropriate the funding for the initial design and engineering.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, I think actually even before 2018, this was something that was on the town's agenda, and it was identified that we really needed a new public safety facility, I think all the way back officially in 2002, and with one study which was followed up by a 2008 study, which reaffirmed the fact that we needed a public safety building, and then also confirmed the best location being on East Union Street. So that has been in the background for several years now. In 2018, what the town did is we moved forward with a debt exclusion vote and a town meeting vote, which provided us with $3.5 million to do the engineering and design of the new public safety building. And concurrently, we were also working with the landowner on a property on East Union Street, which is 14 to 16 East Union Street, which is right before you go up to the high school, to get a gift of land for us to build that public safety building on. So those two processes were happening concurrently. Eventually, we were able to secure that land donation. It's roughly 4 acres. And since 2018, what we have been doing is finalizing that gift. At the same time, we've done a lot of other things that happen behind the scenes that aren't very visible. So, for example, we had to go through a process where we selected an owner's project manager, which is the firm which helps us manage this project. We did that, eventually selecting Vertex, who just recently finished the Southborough Public Safety Facility. And from there, we hired an architect, HKT Architects, who have experience doing public safety buildings across the Commonwealth. And we've had good experience with both of those firms. And then switching back over to the land side, obviously anybody who is familiar with the site knows that it's a challenging site. We chose the site not because of the ease to work it, but because it provided such a great place for operations. It's practically in the center of town, gives us the ability to get over the tracks really quickly with our fire apparatus. But like I said, it does have some challenges on it, including wetlands. So we've also been working with the Conservation Commission to outline what those wetlands are on the site and giving us an idea of what exactly the footprint could be. And right now we're in the process of actively designing the building, utilizing the input of our personnel in the police and fire department, as well as the Public Safety Building Committee. And we'll continue to move that forward until the fall.
Terrific. So Joe, can you speak a little bit to the Public Safety Building Committee? We're all members of that committee, but there's also additional members and some of the other support people that have been assisting.
Right. We have citizens from from Ashland that are on the committee as well. We have an outside architect who just recently joined the committee. He was very interested in coming on, and we have his expertise as to look at things differently than we would as just the layperson in general, looking at a building and saying, "Oh, this looks great." So what we do is we want to make sure that we have everybody's input from the outside to come to us. I believe we have about 7 people currently right now on the committee. Some have been deployed for military services and things of that nature, but they're all back, which is we're grateful to have them serve and be back. And the folks from Ashland, we meet Thursday nights at 6:30. We have been meeting regularly for the last several weeks. Thursday night at 6:30 at the Town Hall, room B and C. And things are starting to get busy now because of the architectural designs that we have in schematics. In front of us, for the first time, we have an idea of what the building looks like and the potential of what it's going to be inside for the services to be provided to both police and fire. And I know the last couple of weeks, Chief Alfano and Chief Roby have sat down with their staff and their members of their departments respectively and looked at the designs and said, okay, how is it going to work for you? These are the folks who are going to be in there every day. So it's important for us as a committee to hear from them as to how they would like this building situated and designed. We're not going to be in there, they are, so we want to make sure that it's going to be to their benefit, and we're going to be spending that amount of money. We want to make sure it's done right the first time and make sure that there's enough space for growth in the future. We're looking at least a 50-year building, hopefully, and with that, we have our eye on the golden ring, and hopefully we can get this done and resolved sooner than later.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's a very exciting time on the committee right now because we're actually looking at plans and building blocks, and as you mentioned, Joe, the chiefs and their rank and file are putting that input in. So I think at this point, it's your building, and I think you guys need to describe, your process thus far and what's gone into, your thinking in terms of the needs of the building and the layouts. So I'll start with Chief Alfano.
Well, as Selectman Magnani had stated, it's a very participatory design plan. Every officer, we do not have a design committee within the police department. Every officer has input. When we get a new revision of the prints, they go out. The officers have tracing paper, and they can write and draw in any suggestions that they may have. And then we, in turn, present those to the architect. The architect has been very responsive in incorporating a lot of those grassroots suggestions that the police officers themselves have put in there. And I do have to say, a lot of those suggestions were really very good suggestions from an end user standpoint. And it actually makes the architect's job a lot easier because the architect doesn't have to think of everything. The initial points are put in there. And it's the fact of having the building a joint facility between the police and fire is huge because, as you know, right now we have 2 fire stations and a police station that operate independently. That's 3 separate heating systems, 3 separate water systems. All the buildings are dated. They're very inefficient. They're in many ways unsafe for the staff, particularly the police station in our booking area. It's unsafe for the officers when they're dealing with prisoners. There's additional cost involved in maintaining those 3 facilities. So by combining those 3 buildings into one, it's going to improve safety, it's going to improve efficiency, it's much more cost effective from an economical standpoint. It's a better way to do things and a safer way.
Right. And that will certainly be one of our future episodes is, again, to review our existing facilities and just to make residents aware of the condition and the need for a new building. Chief Roby, speak a little bit about the fire department in particular, because your needs in the building are very different than the needs of the police department. So speak to that.
So overall, the biggest thing for us is space. Everybody always looks at the garage and say, how come so big? But today's fire trucks are just that much bigger, that much more equipment. But you figure we handle any type of emergency, so we got to have equipment, be prepared for almost anything today. But then when you look at the station, they've evolved from where we were. I mean, our station downtown, built in 1928, it has no safety features. It was built to that standard. Today there's cancer awareness. We have to separate what's considered contaminated, dirty, put it into a clean zone. Get it clean, then get it back into a clean zone. So there's a lot of contamination type stuff we have to worry about. So a lot more of that stuff comes into it under today's guidelines, NFPA. We also have like the ADA. Downtown station's not ADA compliant. Right. There's no way to make it, just being the age of the building and what we'd have to do to it. Same with Cedar Street, that also not ADA compliant. So like when we host a training segment for like CPR or something, we actually have to go to the library and meet the people there because we can't bring them into the station upstairs,
Right.
into our training facilities.
And the amount of equipment that your fire department has is pretty extensive and substantial. It's unlike a lot of, let's say, the equipment that a police department needs. Not just the engines and the ambulances, you've got boats, you have a lot of other auxiliary types of equipment that need to be accommodated as well.
Right. And the other thing with the station, you know, you mentioned building out for 50 years. We have to prepare what's going to change from now till then. You know, prepare, we're going to have the space to add an additional piece of equipment
Right.
over the years.
And personnel. And Michael, you might want to speak a little bit to how the departments have evolved the last couple years in terms of personnel and how we've built up those departments to accommodate the needs of the community and those benefits.
Well, I certainly can, and I mean, I think it's important to note that when I arrived almost 7 years ago, we were woefully understaffed. So the bar was abnormally low, I think, for a town this size in terms of our staffing level. But we have been able to increase our police department staff by a few members, and now we have the ability to provide some specialties as well. Like we have 2 school resource officers now. We do have a canine officer as well. We have an administrative sergeant. So we're able to accommodate a lot more of the needs of the community, not just the department, but of the community through that enhanced staffing. On the fire department side, we had, I believe it was, 4 firefighters per shift, 3 firefighters and a lieutenant. And I think the actual fire protection standards that we try to subscribe to call for at least 8. So over the years, through grants and other mechanisms, we've been able to slowly increase that. We're now up to 6 because the fire department was able to secure a $750,000 SAFER grant, which pays for a significant portion of the salaries and benefits for up to 3 years. But we still have a ways to go. You know, we're always improving and always trying to move the bar. But, you know, I talked about some of the specialties on the police department side. You know, we certainly have specialties on the fire department side as well. You know, as Keith said, they handle basically any type of emergency. So you see a department with boats, you see a dive team, you know, part of a number of regional teams as well. So, I mean, I want to acknowledge the work that we've done, but at the same time, I don't want people to think that, you know, we have reached the goal line of where we need to be.
Right. And I'd like to wrap up this episode with Joe and reflecting a little bit as a lifelong Ashland resident and also as I believe, 35, 40-year member of the police department.
Well, part of the auxiliary, if you add that all together, it's about 37 years.
37 years. So, and you know, this has got to be exciting for you on those levels as well. So if you could speak to that a little bit.
I am. I sit here with much anticipation, and you know, I look forward to this project. This project should have been done over 30 years ago. We were, you know, I was part of the union as union president, trying to make sure that we were able to get a new building, but unfortunately other things came, you know, set precedent over a new building. So we had to make do. And one of the things that we want to remember is that both departments are totally changing employment-wise. We had maybe 1 or 2 female officers at one point, and they didn't stay long. They went to other departments that could accommodate them. But now we have female officers on both departments now, and we don't have the proper facilities for them to maintain their safety. We have a construction trailer that's out back of the police station where they house their equipment and other things, and that's totally wrong. I'm very, very happy and anxious to see this project come into fruition. And again, hopefully, with all the staffing changes that we have and the new public safety building as it comes on board, and hopefully it comes on board, we hope that we can accommodate everyone that's part of the department and not leave them outside. Right. But everybody comes in. Should it have been done years ago? It should have, but unfortunately, you know, the town thought other things took precedence, so we'll push back a little bit. So now this is time for us to move on, and I think the townspeople have to agree that our public safety officers, both fire and police, need a home that they can be proud of. And I think the town needs a public safety building that they can be proud of and say, look, isn't this a brand new building? And we should be proud of it, just like a new school. We're proud of the new school as well. So hopefully we can work together and get this done.
So as we move forward, Michael, as we develop plans and images and make decisions, will this be available on the website, on the town's website? How can we get this information out, or how will we get it out to the community so that they're keeping, watching this process?
So we will have a dedicated website for the public safety building that will be linked to off of the town of Ashland's website. So that is going to be really the repository of the documentation, if you will. If you can think about the design process in 3 distinct phases, where we currently are is in what is known as schematic design. We'll go through that process, get one estimate. After we do that, we'll drill down a little bit more through what's called the design development phase, and then get another estimate after that. And then we'll go through the construction document phase, which again is putting some of the final touches from a design perspective on the building, and then hopefully have final bid numbers when we actually go to town meeting and when we go to the ballot vote. And I anticipate after each of those distinct phases, we will have at least one forum to the public to talk about where we are, how we got here, and what the plan is moving forward. So we'll have, again, that more static website, which will constantly be updated, but we hope to have forums and abilities for people to interact with us and ask us questions that we might not have thought of,
Sure.
And give us an opportunity to answer those.
Yeah, very good. So as we mentioned at the beginning, this is the first of a series of informational videos that we'll be taping and broadcasting, and they'll include a host of topics, including tours of the existing facility, as well as a tour of the site, where the building will be constructed. You'll get to meet the architects, get to meet our project manager as well. So there'll be a lot of information coming out. So we encourage everybody to be watching, to ask questions, to reach out to the select board, reach out to the town manager's office, reach out to our police and fire departments, and we want everybody to be as engaged as possible and be excited about this process. So I want to thank our 2 chiefs, Chief Alfano, Chief Roby, our town manager, Michael Herbert, select board member, Joe Mignani, and we'll look forward to working with everybody as we move this exciting process forward.